So, looking at it in this particular context, we have a Tyrannosaurus Rex in a paddock. They have taken precautions to make sure that the T-Rex doesn't get out. They have put an electrified fence containing this T-Rex. And when that fence is electrified, the T-Rex doesn't get out. It knows that it's going to get shocked, and the shocks are enough to keep it inside. However, can we expect things to go wrong? Is it foreseeable that the fence might not be electrified at all times? I would say yes, 100%. So, what should you do as the proprietor of a dinosaur theme park? Well, you should take precautions to make sure that if the electricity goes down, the T-Rex still can't get out. What that means in practice is maybe a second fence, one that is able to withstand the might of the T-Rex. It seems like the T-Rex here was able to put its mass in, or use its tiny, arm claws to be able to snap the steel cables here, which means that they could have used a fence with stronger steel cables. Separately, maybe you have a backup generator that goes into effect immediately when the first line of electricity goes down. That's a different way that you can solve this problem. A third way to prevent this problem would be to not use a fence at all. I've been to many zoos that have very large animals like elephants and giraffes, where those animals are far below where the tourists are. So the change in elevation is big enough that there's no way for the animal to get to the high ground where all the people are. So the natural barriers, the difference in elevation is enough to keep the animals from attacking the tourists and the sightseers. So those are three different ways that the designers of Jurassic Park could have designed this particular enclosure to keep the tourists safe. And there's really no question that this negligence resulted in the injuries that these people are going to suffer. The emotional distress and the physical injuries that they're going to suffer are a direct result of the T-Rex getting out. So there's a direct causal link, what's called proximate cause under the law, between the negligence in question and their injuries. So this is a slam dunk case, I think, against Jurassic Park for pure negligence, bordering on recklessness. For these poor people in these cars.
It's a girl.
So we have this situation where we have a really bad actor who is going to suffer some
Excuse me, I need to get a drink. I'll edit this out.
physical injuries, spoiler alert, as a result of his own bad acts, but also partially as a result of some of the negligence of the park owners. So in this particular situation, it's possible that if he were able to sue as a result of his injuries and not being eaten alive by a dinosaur, he might be able to get some recovery. Yes, he was partially responsible, but in most jurisdictions, they use what's called comparative fault, which means that if you are at fault for a certain bad thing happening to you, and someone else is also responsible for that thing, well, you just look at the various percentages and you say, okay, well, if it was a 50-50 split, then you're entitled to recover 50% of the actual damages. That is in contrast to what states used to use, which is called contributory negligence, which is that if you're responsible for even 1% of your own damages, you're not entitled to receive anything. There are pros and cons with both situations, but equity generally is in favor of comparative negligence instead, so Nedry might be able to file suit. However, on the other hand, there is a doctrine called unclean hands, which says that you're not able to profit from your own bad acts. And Nedry's acts are so bad in this case, I think he would probably be precluded from recovering anything. So Nedry passes away as a result of his own bad acts. But
Passes away, I wouldn't use that word. I would just say get killed, murdered, mauled, eaten alive, or stuff like that. But whatever. At least it's not the Jurassic Park book. I've heard that the Jurassic Park book is far more gory and brutal.
Interestingly, because he entered into a conspiracy, conceivably the other members of this conspiracy might be responsible for Nedry's death, both civilly and criminally as well.
Oh, Mr. Arnold.
Now, just as it is foreseeable that the electricity is going to go down on these electrified fences, it's also foreseeable that a human might be able to touch these fences as well. So not only do you need the electric fence to keep the dinosaurs in, but you also have to have a way to keep the humans away from this electrified fence as well. Yet another reason why these electrified fences were just a bad idea in the first place. The question is it foreseeable that a human would ever touch these fences? Well, as we saw from earlier in this movie, it was incredibly easy for the characters to leave the cars when they wanted to. One precaution you could take is to make it so that no one can leave the cars as they're taking the tour. That might open up a whole bunch of other problems, but at least it would prevent people from touching the fence here. In this particular iteration, we see that it's very easy for people to leave, and there is nothing preventing these people from touching these electrified fences. So, I think it is incredibly foreseeable that some person might accidentally touch the electrified fence and be shocked in the same way that Tim was here. Okay, I suppose this is a minor thing in the context of an island full of dinosaurs killing people, but those fossils probably weigh thousands and thousands of pounds. I don't think that they should be buckling under the additional weight of a couple of people, and the fact that they're falling apart is yet more evidence of negligence by the park owners here. So given the height that those two characters fell from, I think we can safely add a sprained ankle and perhaps a broken foot to the pain and suffering and medical bills that Jurassic Park is responsible for.
That is one big pile of
All right, welcome to Jurassic Park. Jurassic Park. Let's tally up the crimes. Here, the main bad actor is Nedry. He engaged in multiple criminal acts. First, he attempted to steal trade secrets from the company. Given the value of the larceny, I would peg his sentence at 20 years. On top of that, during the commission of this felony that was inherently dangerous, 3 people died, including Muldoon, Arnold, and the lawyer.
people are dying.
Given the felony murder rule, Nedry would be guilty of 3 counts of first-degree murder, the worst kind of murder, and he would certainly be sent to jail for the rest of his life, if not put on death row, effectively serving 3 back-to-back life sentences. Regarding John Hammond as the owner of Jurassic Park, I don't think he would be criminally liable. They clearly didn't intend for any of this to happen, so they lack the mens rea for most criminal acts. But that being said, their gross negligence is clearly apparent. Skimping out on dinosaur-proof fences and not creating a backup system for when those fences were no longer electrified is clearly an act of negligence, and they are responsible for the civil damages that occurred. Included in that are probably the wrongful deaths of the 3 people that died, which include Muldoon, Arnold, and the lawyer as well. Not to mention the OSHA violations at the beginning of the movie, which led to the poor park worker being eaten alive by a raptor. So that's 4 counts of wrongful death. How much a jury would award would depend largely on their lifetime earning capacity, but let's conservatively say $5 million per person. On top of that, there is the pain and suffering and medical bills for all of the other people that went to the park under false pretenses. So let's peg that at about $1 million per person. So add it all together, that is $25 million that Jurassic Park owes to the surviving members of the excursion and the family members of those that didn't quite make it all the way through Jurassic Park.
After careful consideration, I've decided not to endorse your park. Ah!
Now, if you're going to start a dinosaur theme park that may or may not kill all of its patrons, you're going to need a website to advertise it. When I needed a website for helping law school students, which for the record contains no dinosaurs, I chose Wix. Wix helped me create an e-commerce store and a law school blog. I've used them for years how I wanted to. Wix allows, if you're looking to build your own website, you have to check out.
Okay. So, I've learned interesting things today with Long Spoken. Apparently, there's a guy who's a lawyer or something counting the criminals and suing and whatnot. Just damn. John Hammond must have a lot of money, considering that he's on his bed in a mansion in the Lost World Jurassic Park. And yeah, there are a few things that they could have done that I did not know of which the lawyer or something pointed out. But either way, it's actually pretty interesting, I'm not gonna lie.